back to another fantastic episode of LR Talks. I am very excited to welcome you to this particular episode. And I need all creatives in the building to gather around. This very one is for you. And I promise you, you're going to enjoy every bit of it. I go by the name Ajijola Olua Adeniyi, and you can call me Jade. I will be your host on the show today. And trust me, it is my pleasure. So, on the table today, we have a very important topic, which is the creative industry, exploring opportunities and challenges. And with me in the studio today is my wonderful guest who will be taking us through the topic. He, in partnership with his wife, founded the LORB Creative Excellence Initiative. He is also responsible for some of Minister Dosioyeko's album cover designs, one of which is The Birth of Revival, which happens to be my favorite because of the profound messages that each element in that design contains. I think you should check it out. Then he has also worked with, a number of national and international organizations, which include the Honeywell Group of Companies. He has been featured on many different platforms, national and international, following his creativity. He was featured on CNN Africa, being one of the most creative illustrators who participated in October 2018. I think you should be excited. I'm bringing to you today. Today is ready. Drum roll. Mr. Mike Tommy. Hello, sir. How are you doing today?
Hi, thank you.
So is there anything the house to mentioned?
Well,
so far,
I think you did a very good job of introducing. I think at this point, it should be what is coming for us this year.
I'm very excited to have you. I am very excited for that because I think that is filled with so many and a lot of this topic. To go practical and your own personal story. Get into the creative industry. It's been so far for you.
I like this question because it gives me the to tackle, right? So there's this thing that your passion, right? First make money, that will passion put food on your table. And oftentimes when I feel like it's not a very approach to life, right? I look at my journey, I realize what I did was my passion. Very interesting. Been creating since I was a child.
Oh.
I drew a lot. I can't say it wasn't really escape. Like I was good at school. I was good at science. I was good at all and A student. I found that this unrelenting to create beauty with pencils. So as a child, I would feel like I would like to draw this, see how it comes out. Sometimes I would put myself in the mirror, put myself out, right? And all of that. That felt like an inward configuration. If I had to study electronics engineering, electrical engineering, I still could.
The artist.
And I feel like one of the reasons I didn't embrace it fully later time was because I have so much exposure as to what you could accomplish. And I feel say, don't follow your passion, go and because they can't really for making money through something. So for me, also making money through art on that time, right? What technology could do, and what let's do. So after university, electrical engineering, I had been drawing all along, drawing even while in university, and I'm so that you can see how this. University, I was still drawing, but I was drawing, painting from drawing, and when see, and somehow I decided this is what, right? I want to read as a visual creator, all of that, and I just the industry like that. So I didn't go about electrical electronics engineering job, but but I just said, what, I've had it. This is really what is calling out. I'm going to do my best to yield to it. So my journey into the creative industry, me following
Passion.
Yeah, so that's
But what do dropping for
that part of my journey was a very it felt like I fought. It wasn't easy, right? Because I saw a clear path with the art. First, art really started calling in 100 level. Like, started calling out to me as I should be doing. As a child, no, as a child, right? You're just yourself. Nobody's any pressure and all of that. And then in school, so nobody is saying this is or anything like that. Adult it changes. But I'm in 100 level, I'm studying electrical engineering. I have who are paying my fees.
Yeah.
What am I going to tell them? I'm about to leave engineering. If somebody says, as at then, elect was one of the hottest courses. Yeah. For you to get into elect attended, that's University of Ibadan. Anyone who hears that, elect, you must. It was one of those type of courses to get into. It was a big deal. You had really high hopes because there were several things as an elect engineer to say, what, I focus on this was very difficult. Yes, I couldn't really, I wasn't old enough to, I kept staying up at night and draw while of that. So it wasn't the easiest. The things that made it easy for me to stand up and say, what, this is what I want to do. Because I feel like I had track record for being responsible, for not being stupid. Yes, I had. So there was trust that could be me, that, okay, somebody that has known what is on. So if you say this, you counsel, but we so but eventually I have himself, right, that you can do this.
Your challenges in the creative industry before you got into the I mean, this is the reasons why this topic is because they are scared to take that leap that you two cannot. And in that life, talk about my salvation, I read on and I think I have heard you talk story. I just want the house to know what my salvation is about, how my salvation started, and my salvation story. In general.
The my salvation story thing is like something for me. Now, usually when I describe myself as a creative, just come in and say, I'm a designer or artist. I would say I'm an artist, but most times I don't. I found out that I had multiple expressions as a so most of the time is why you look at my bio and you see something like venture, right? So in one way or other, I always find going into different forms of creativity. At some point, I was in storytelling. At some point, I was more into art. At that point, I was more into design. Right? So my salvation story was an offshoot of and storytelling.
Okay.
So the idea I could say God gave me the idea, like many other ideas. I had this idea to have people the opportunity to share their salvation stories. Jesus has transformed. That's something you should be willing to with people, right? benefit from your story, be encouraged by your story. What we did was that, because I had a team work with me. At first, it started with trying to get things done. Realized that some things are bigger than you. So the start the platform myself, because I and all of that. Then with me and started with, if you really want to share, if you feel God has really blessed you and salvation story, this is a can do that. And the platform did really very interesting, surprising to me, but it did quite what we were sharing people's salvation was very interesting. Some people thought some of this because very interesting. They're very things cultists, traditionalists sacrifice fingers to get things,
Wow.
things and recording them for me to hearing people stories and all of that.
Yes.
Abuse as children, come in and share the story information, and full experience for me. Decide devotional for people to and be blessed. We also had on the side something with MIM, intimate moments with Jesus.
Okay.
So basically the platform was really giving people an opportunity to share their journeys with Jesus. But interestingly, after 1 year, we stopped.
Just 1 year.
Just 1 year. It wasn't because we were failing. Like, we had tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of views and all that. People were coming in to read and share. I had somebody reach out to me from the US to partner with us and see how she could promote the platform outside Nigeria. But after 1 year, I stopped. I was actually thinking of handing it over because at that point, God was literally telling me that it was time to move on. And this is something that I've checked a lot in my journey. I often tell people, especially of late, that whatever you have doing now, give your best to it. It may no longer be with you in the next 2 years, the next 1 year. And this is something I see a lot. Today, I'm a designer. I give my 110 to the design. And somehow I know that in the next 2 or 3 years, I'm not going to be designing again. So I'm designing for clients today. In the next 3 years, I'm no longer designing for clients. I'm designing in an entirely different way. So I'm designing with Photoshop and Figma and AI today. And tomorrow, I know. So I'm basically giving it my best, knowing that seasons change, right? So seasons change. Tomorrow, I'm not designing with any of that. I'm designing with that entirely different system. Tomorrow I'm probably doing more of strategy and all of that. So that was kind of like the story behind my salvation story. It wasn't that it failed. It wasn't that people were not reading.
You just had to stop.
It was just time for me to let go. And so I was really considering, is it that I should hand it over? I just kind of knew it was funny. I think we're praying, like after 1 year, we came together to pray and thank God and all of that. And I think that was where I just heard it so clearly that it's time to let go of my salvation story.
Wow.
And I didn't build a tent there and say it's a must. And I've literally moved on to other things besides that. So yeah.
So that means that in your creative journey, there's like an evolution from, one stage to another.
Yeah.
And you're willing to, move. At every point in time, you have to move.
Yeah.
I was still coming back to that because that's, being able to move at the right time and knowing, when to move and all of that. Yeah. Letting go of all of whatever you had built in that 1 year and all of that might have been a challenge. I want us to talk about it extensively. Yeah. But before we move on to that, you mentioned that you started with writing and storytelling and now you're a designer and all of that. So I just want us to go through some of the opportunities that, creative minds in this generation, can explore in the creative industry.
Yeah, awesome. So the opportunities in the creative industry are bound. It's sort of limitless, right? The more exposure you sort of have, and I dare say, the more understanding of yourself that you have, the more you realize that there's literally anything you can do and gain enough value with as a creative. It's something I mean, if I were to say, you know what, I fancy the Yoruba language, because it's something, I love languages, right? So it's like, I love design, I love art, I love music, I love languages, I love all of that. Creativity is such a unique thing because, so here's the thing. This is how I usually tend to portray creativity. So there's creativity that solves problems. Very measurable, sometimes tactile problems. Okay, this problem, that, because that's kind of like also what creativity is. It's not just something beautiful. It's more like there is a challenge.
Being able to provide a solution.
You can provide a solution to this challenge, whether it's through writing, whether it's through speaking, whether it's through strategy, whether it's through design, because design itself is a problem solving tool and all of that, right? But on the other hand, there's another expression of creativity where it's someone says it, I think it's Elon Musk that says something like that, that there is a part of, okay, you're solving physical, tactile, measurable problems, but there is another part where you're giving people a reason to wake up the next day. So there's the more inspiring, there's the aspect where what you're really focused on is inspiring hope, inspiring a reason for people to live again. And sometimes that's the part that has to do with beautiful things, because the human soul loves beauty.
Yes.
So there are some people whose value comes from being able to provide beauty to the human soul. If we literally look at what God does, it's functional and yet it's also beautiful.
Yes.
So that beauty has its place. Somebody just wants to see the sunrise. There's a way the sun can be beautiful. There's a way sunset can be beautiful. There's a way clouds can, you take a picture of them, but they are also functional. Right. So the idea for me is when we look at all this, we begin to realize that the creative industry abounds with opportunities. If you think of opportunities in terms of solving problems, you discover a problem, you find a solution to it. That's one. You think of opportunities in terms of having things that could inspire the human soul. The moment you look at that, there is no limit. You can literally sit down, look at your strengths, find a way to exercise them to excellence. And the moment you do that, you can generate value. So there are those that will attend to clients, have done that one very well. I did that one for years. And now I'm not even doing so much of client work anymore. What I'm doing is literally sitting down, looking at all my strong points. Oh, I love music. I love art. I love storytelling. I love design. I love data visualization. Why can't I merge all this as one
together
and create something beautiful? Right? So I could literally say, oh, opportunities, okay, you could be a designer, you could be a writer, you could be all this. That doesn't really capture. There are fields that have not even been created that need somebody to wake up and say, why? I literally have a project like that I'm working on. The word was not an English word, I coined it myself. And then I've been sharing it with a few people, I've been working on it, and someone literally looked and said that this feels like it branches off from so many things. That's euphonia, for anyone that's heard of euphonia. So it's a combination of music, art, design, and all of that. So it's like this sort of branches off. And at the moment, somebody may be saying that, but you're not making money from it. It's because I understand the season of things. I understand the exploratory season. And sometimes that's how people say, okay, I'm not making money, I'm not doing. No, sometimes it's not really like that. Sometimes it's you playing around. Let's see what this is. Yeah, let's just roll it. Then you're knowing the thing, you're becoming more familiar with it, you're seeing the story behind it, and eventually it will bring value. So there's no limit. I don't really want to mention, oh, there's writing, oh, there's this. There is anything. There's literally anything. There could be humming. You can come to a point where you hum to make a living. That's how creativity is. There oftentimes is no real final discrete yardstick for saying, okay, this is what and this is what you can do with creativity.
In the creative industry. This topic is getting really interesting. And I'm very glad you mentioned euphonia, because when I saw it on the internet, I did not exactly, get the idea until now that you actually mentioned it. And I'm really glad you're here with us, because we need to, like I said, this topic is for the creatives in the building. And we need to understand that the opportunities are endless.
Yeah.
We can do as much as anything
Yeah.
in the creative industry.
Yeah.
But in the process of doing as much as anything in the
Yeah.
creative industry, the challenges that come with, trying to do new things,
Yeah.
trying to do things that have already been done better,
Before. Yeah. Yeah.
trying to, navigate the
Yeah.
entire creative world
Yeah.
as a whole. Like you mentioned that you had to stop My Salvation Story
Yeah.
after a year. You had built so much,
Yeah.
and there was hope of you building so much more
Yeah.
with My Salvation Story.
Yeah.
So for you personally, before we talk about probably other people's experiences and
Yeah.
all, what have your challenges been so far in
Okay.
the creative industry?
All right. So I think for me, looking back a bit, or maybe also considering where I am currently, because I know that challenges can be. I feel like I've had a very graced journey into creativity, because when I really cast my mind back, I really feel like it was graced, right? Because I've now understood so many things looking back. Oh, wow. I started designing, and then after designing, suddenly I felt led to share my art or my illustrations online. And somebody saw it and said, oh, you make illustrations? Okay, maybe and then somehow we started working together, and one thing led to another thing led to another thing, and all of that. So at some point, what began to pose more of a challenge to me was, and I feel like this may not be the same for every creative, because for me, it became more of, it came to me at a point where I had advanced a bit, right? In quote, age as a creative or in experience. And it was the need for craftsmanship.
Okay.
People that were given to craftsmanship, right? It was something that, because at some point I felt like I didn't want to work alone, right? Working alone was becoming too
Tedious.
much. Yes, for me. It felt like there was an overload of ideas sometimes, right? So it was a thing of wanting to find a balance between that overload of ideas and managing my time well. So in a way, I was consumed a lot by work, right? So one of the challenges for me somehow was finding that balance between working and resting, like working and living. But I was working a lot. But secondly, something I just somehow mentioned, the idea of having hands that were given to craftsmanship. I don't know if it's more of a recent challenge that I find, because sometimes, and it's a challenge I actually found a solution to eventually, right? But I don't know if it's more of a challenge, because my own challenge has not been, an absence of job or an absence of opportunities. I've always had, I don't know why. Maybe because I'm given to doing work at a certain standard, but I've not really lacked opportunities. So what I felt like was posing a bit of a challenge to me was that need for a company that had the type of heart that I had for creativity. Yes, that had the type of heart. So maybe it's craftsmanship, maybe it's perspective to how
being
creativity
able to carry
works.
The vision
yes,
you have.
but a company that had the type of heart, company of creatives. Because I have a great company of people that I'm very glad to be immersed in, and has been a blessing to me. So I think that challenge for me used to be people that had that heart that were given to the craft, right? If that makes sense. I don't know how much sense that makes, but I'm trying to communicate it a certain way. Yeah, so that felt like more of my challenge, not opportunities. No, I don't think the opportunities were so
people
much.
Who could, who could carry what you have on the inside of you.
But I feel like that challenge is being solved. Maybe it was more of me not seeing clearly. But now I feel like I already have like a structured approach to making that happen.
That's great.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that you have, other people in the creative industry who probably don't do what you do, who do other things. What would you say you have seen as some challenges. Of the general challenges, let me put it that way, that creatives would face in the industry?
So thinking of this now, I feel like one of the challenges that I feel like applies a lot to creatives is the lack of a clear path. It's why some people feel like creative industry it's something they don't really encourage people to get into. It's like, okay, somebody wants to play football, in quotes. I don't know if I can call it creative industry, but someone wants to play football, and they always tell you that before you play football, make sure you have a degree first.
Yes.
In case it doesn't work out, you have a skill.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Something
you
could
can do
fall back
fashion
on.
design. Yes. Okay, you can do this. So that in case it does not work out, you can fall back on it.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's very similar to what you also find in the creative industry, because there is no, okay, you're done with your first degree. A lot of times, there isn't the idea of you're done with your first degree, then your second degree, then you get job and all of that. For creatives, it doesn't really feel like that. You know, it's not for some, they can easily just find a company to work with, because now companies now are embracing more of creative expressions. Before, storytelling was not a big deal with organizations.
But now,
organizations are literally saying that we want storytellers, we want visual designers, we want animators. But before, it wasn't like that. So you find out that a lot of creatives felt like floating people. Oh, I want to sing. There are many people that have wanted to sing. So it doesn't feel like there is a very clear step one, step two, but actually there is. But it doesn't just look like it. So it doesn't look like there's a structure. So a lot of people just tend to float. And in the end, when it doesn't look like there is success, it begins to look like, so we said it, right? So I feel like one of the challenges that creatives have sort of faced has been the lack of singing. Step one, okay, you are a creative, you can sing, right? So it's like people just go to school. For creatives, it's hardly like that, right? So it feels like there is no step one, do this, step two, do this, step three, step four.
There's
so
no
it feels like that lack of guidance or
structure.
structured way of doing things was probably a challenge to many creatives. Maybe even myself, now that I think of it. So it's like you had to figure many things out by yourself. You had to say, okay, this is where this is going. There is treasure in this. Let me follow it. So that's I feel like was a challenge. That lack of very structured approach to getting to success. Yeah, for some, that's what I feel like. And there may also be the challenge of the exposure of your environment, right? So there are some places that are open to creatives. So it's very easy for creatives to succeed there.
Yes.
There are some other spaces that you cannot really say are open to creatives, because they may not really appreciate the beauty of what creatives do. So for instance, and I feel like it even reflects in many other ways, but let me not step into that. So for instance, there are some countries where creativity is such a strong thing.
Yes.
So if you're creative, you're likely to find a market of people who appreciate what you're doing. There are some other places where you create and people are literally just looking for food to eat. So it's like, how does this change my life? That kind of thing, exactly. So I feel like that may also pose a challenge to creatives. You're finding the right audience for your work. That's another thing coming to mind. It's very interesting. These things are just coming to mind. So finding the right audience. So sometimes the challenge is that you're likely approaching people that are not really the people you're supposed to be approaching. Right? So one of the challenges for creatives is actually finding the struggle to find your own people that would appreciate
what
your
you
work.
do.
Yes. So I feel like there's that too.
And then still on challenges, considering, the evolution of technology so far, do you think the, emergence of AI has, been more of a threat to the creative industry than, it has brought ease and all?
So I think that when it comes to tech, and I may want to share a personal story.
Okay.
Here, I love to share personal stories. So I feel like when we look at tech very well, we find out that tech brings more of a benefit to us than it brings a challenge. The only thing is, how willing are you to evolve? So there's a saying, evolve or die, or something like that kind of thing. So if you're not willing to evolve, you may be in a place where you get left in the dust, right? So oftentimes it's like, now nobody types with typewriter anymore. There was a time where typewriter was a thing. But then something else came, easier, works better. Saves things better. You can transfer, you can literally just move, you can edit if you made a mistake. So now if you find anyone using typewriter, it's more of an artistic expression. It's not really because this is the best way to do things. So why am I sharing this? I'm sharing how that what technology does is that technology helps you scale impact, right? So you have an expression, a very unique expression. Tech comes in as a leverage for you to scale that expression of yours. So in the past, what people did when it came to art as an expression, and that was one of the reasons why I struggled to accept being an artist at first. It was because most times when I saw artists, sometimes you see them just having a roadside kiosk.
Yes.
Yes, I'm trying not to, but I usually use a particular name as you just see so and so arts with a Z at the back, not an S. So I saw that a lot, and I wasn't really encouraged to pursue art because I was thinking I don't want to have a kiosk by the roadside or a store by the roadside. Like I'm thinking of myself having more of an impact. And technology came and brought like the solution of that to me. So when we talk of technology, look at it across board, from computers to this to social media and digital economy and all of that. You know, so I started seeing people making art online, and I thought I can do more. I can do more than what I'm currently doing. I can sell online. I mean, it brought the opportunities I have now. So I'm not limited to my environment. That, oh, the people I see only have roadside shops. But I'm not thinking that. I'm thinking I have a digital shop. Right? I have somewhere people can, I have a digital address. People can meet me online and all of that. So AI now, which seems to be the one now, not necessarily just the normal tech as we had it before, it's also kind of like the same. I remember being in a place where I used GPT for the first time. And I thought, wow, literally, that's how I felt. Wow, this thing just brought so much ease to me. Something I've been struggling for time to do something and all of that. Now I have this ease. So AI for me, it can be a threat if not well controlled. If you don't look at the ethics of things, how do they affect people? How do they affect we humans? If they are not put under such control, it can be a threat to people, to creatives, and even to just people, you know. But then, if properly used, AI is such a great tool for creativity. Because at the end of the day, I don't think that anything can really be better than the human soul. The human soul is such a precious thing that let AI learn how to write the way it wants. It still cannot. It will be very interesting to see it take away the do better than the humanness that we carry. So for me, those things are basically tools that you can leverage for scaled impact rather than a threat, depending on usage.
Creative industry. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that. Now, this very question I'm about to ask you, I believe that many creatives would have this question in mind. I am a creative. I am good at a certain part in the creative industry. I feel like I know what I want to do. How do I monetize my creativity? What business strategies can I apply to make sure that my creativity brings me, you know, income and all of that? Because the truth is, for someone like you, I think this question is very beautiful because you literally left what would have been your career path for the creative industry. So how were you able to navigate, you know, monetizing your creativity, your creative power? I believe many creatives out there would have that question.
Awesome.
So what do you have to say about that?
That's a very beautiful question because somehow thinking of it, I feel like it still ends up being part of the challenges that creatives face. Because I'm thinking of it, I feel like one of the things that may probably help creatives function better, more like a solution to the challenges they face, is better creative education. Right. So one of the things that such creative education will cater to is how you can monetize. Because whether you like it or not, money is important. I personally don't play with money when it comes to the creative,
Yeah.
like for me, it's usually a case of exchange of value. That's kind of like how I see the money part. I feel like I'm giving you this much value, so I expect that the same
Something in
value
return.
comes to me. If that value does not come to me, it can lead to frustration, and it can affect the quality of my work, right? So when it comes to monetizing your skill, there's something we say at LOB, right? We say this at LOB, which is the not-for-profit initiative my wife and I run. So this is what LOB does, and I feel like it sort of answers the question to a great degree. So what LOB does is that LOB drives creative expression, creative excellence, creative enterprise.
Yes.
So one, creative expression. We all have different creative expressions. Some of us have it muffled. We don't express because what do you want to do with it? Which money do you want to make with it? How do you want to earn a living with it? So it's like, leave this thing alone. So by the time there's pressure on the left, pressure on the right, how are you taking care of this? How are you taking care of that? We shut down and we just go and look for a very clear path to making money.
Yeah.
Like money shall come at the end of the month. So we take care of bills. We move on, right? So, but one of the things we tend to do at LOB is that we encourage, we stir up, maybe by education, maybe by workshops, maybe by training programs, we stir up creative expression, right? But we make it clear that creative expression alone cannot, oftentimes or most times, cannot bring you the expected value that you want in return.
Yeah.
So creative expression alone cannot bring you money. A lot of strategic approaches to things brings you money. So somebody likes singing. I can sing. You can sing and you sing does not mean that you would make anything out of singing.
Yes.
Impact on money. So the next thing that we always mention, something like creative excellence. That thing that you can do needs to come to a point where nobody can do it better than you.
Yes.
Or at least even if nobody can do it better than you,
You're delivering.
like you're very good at it, right?
Yeah.
Excellence, it kind of like evolves over time.
Yes.
I'm excellent at this level does not mean that I'm excellent. Like I need to push for excellence at another level. Okay, I can speak in so and so place to 1,500 people. Okay, yeah, I've mastered that. I'm excellent at that. Okay, so can you do at 10,000? Right? So excellence is kind of like making the best of what is at your disposal now.
At time, yes.
Yeah. So it's a case of, okay, you can sing. Now, can you push that singing to a place where you are exceptionally good at it? 2. Number 3 is what I would now say enterprise. So the enterprise bit now is how willing are you to serve people in exchange for value. So it's like you can see people's problems and solve it in exchange for value. Now, it sounds very simple, but it's actually that simple. But at the end of the day, you now realize that so many things go into it. That's where you now begin to talk of things like personal branding.
Yeah.
You now begin to talk of things like sales and marketing. Even if you're doing things for impact, you need to sell.
Yes.
That's how it is. So now you found your unique expression. You've given yourself to training, because it's education that takes you from that place to a place where you're excellent at what you do. Yeah. A lot of times creatives skip that education bit. So they start expressing and trying to sell. And you find out that the value, the money they get in return, okay, put on social media, I create flyer, I create logo, I create this, I create that. You find out that if your expression has not grown to a place of excellence, what you get is people beginning to pay you peanuts.
Yeah.
You're hearing somebody else is doing branding and your hearing is collecting 5 million. And you're wondering that, is it not the same branding? It's not the same. Actually, the reason he's able to monetize this to that point is because he has built it to a point of excellence. So it's like, okay, yes, you have an expression, but that's not enough. That expression has to go through a refining, refining process.
Phase where eventually
move.
Get to.
So that refining process may be that you go to submit yourself somewhere
Mm.
as an intern or as an apprentice. I need to say that apprentice part because it may not look beautiful. So you find out that there are stages. There is a learning stage, there is an earning stage. When you make the mistake, when you switch two of them, you realize that you can't really earn.
Mm.
This is a very key strategy to be in a place where you can earn very well. That learning phase needs to be used very well. So I would intentionally say something like, what if you become an apprentice first?
Mm.
I'm intentionally using the word apprentice. Because when I say intern sounds nice. Just go to a company, serve as an intern, posh and all that. But I'm intentionally saying apprentice because it's practical. You are shadowing someone. You are seeing them sell. You're seeing them create. You're learning all of that. Literally, I found myself thinking of I'm going for apprenticeship even at this stage because there are some things I still want to learn how they work. So it's almost like, should I go and sit under somebody for 2 months or 3 months and all of that, knowing that after that period, you would eventually come to a place where when you are now carrying out enterprise, it's not difficult for you to know what to do. So that enterprise, you go to the guys that go through apprenticeship. For instance, you hear of the Igbo apprenticeship system. It's something that has been talked about even internationally. That is one of the most effective ways of building entrepreneurs. So you go to the Igbo apprenticeship system. That's why you find out that if you find any of those guys, go to Lagos, go to Yaba market, or go to any of those markets, when you find them doing business, you are shocked at the effectiveness. So somebody does not have something in the shop. He tells you, I have.
Yeah,
I
then
have.
it goes somewhere.
Then what he does, he takes you to another person's place and he gets it at a certain amount and sells it to you at a certain amount. And he makes his own profit and he moves on, gives that one a share and he moves on. And it's because a lot of learning went underground. So that enterprise part has been gained. So what is personal branding? You will find out that some people may not know it in theory, but they have it practically. So a lot of this sales, marketing, personal branding, show your work. Show your work. You may not know how much it is worth. You may not know how much they will charge or you are to charge. You don't know how much people will value it. But put your work out there. As you've gone from expression to, let's say, excellence or being good at what you're doing, enterprise, share your work. Begin to share your work. Share it online. You have social media. Let people see what you do. At some point, someone will reach out to you. You may not know the real amount to charge. It may be worth 50,000 and you charge 20,000. You will learn as you go, right? So when it comes to monetizing skill, I would say know your learning phase, make good use of it, and then put your work out there. Put your work out there. Start from there. You would learn more about pricing and charging and being convincing and being able to tell your story and personal branding as you go, right? But start from learn well, then share your work. The rest will come as you go.
Wow, this has been a very, very wonderful session. But before we go, I'd like to ask, do you have any advice for, aspiring creatives? People who are not, exactly sure what they want to do, but they know they want to go into the creative industry.
All right. So if I had one thing that I would say to creatives who still lack clarity, who have doubts as to whether they can or what they should do, or whether this thing is worth anything, if I should just leave it alone and just play safe, right? Because one of the things about creativity is that it involves risk. If you're not willing to take risk, you're likely not to create anything special. That's what you find with creatives. So what I would say, for instance, is I believe in purpose. When I say I believe in purpose, not just what's my purpose in life, I believe that every one of us is designed a certain way and to do certain things. It's why we should not be expecting an elephant to climb a tree. We should not expect a fish to fly. Fishes are meant to swim, right? Birds are meant to fly, and all of that. So if I should judge an elephant by how well it climbs a tree, it will always fail compared to a monkey. Right? So if anything, I would want to encourage creatives to find out what their unique expression is and follow it and educate themselves in it and give their best to it, right? Especially with the mindset of serving the world with it. If it's money first, it can be a problem. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because there's a framework that I like to work with. It's in the Bible. It says that he that will be greatest among you must be the one that's willing to serve, must be the least. And oftentimes, I always say something like, the greatest brands are those that are willing to serve people. So if you take your creativity and your focus really is on how to be a servant to people, how can I make your life better with my creativity? How can I help you live a better life? How can I make you happier? How can I make you more comfortable? And at the end of the day, you find out that you become the greatest. Look at comedians. Oh, Sabinus. Oh, this and that. What do? They are basically making people happier.
happy.
And by making someone happy, it begins to say something like something huge. And that something huge, it trademarks it. So if any brand wants to use something huge, they have to come to him, use him, and pay him. And you find out that what was he trying to do? He's just trying to make people happy. So the human soul is that valuable. So find your unique expression. I would tell you follow your passion, but make sure that you are properly educated in the line of that passion, and then be willing to serve people. That's the advice I would give. So if you are in doubt, if you're uncertain, find yourself. How do you find yourself? Sometimes you find yourself by just exploring things. Explore writing. Don't do it with making money in mind. Explore writing, explore painting, meet people, communicate with people. Find a purposeful community. If you do that, by the time you're moving with 10 people that know where they are going, you're meeting people, you're understanding human beings better, you would find what you're meant to give to people. And then you can educate yourself in that line, exercise it, and you'll be all right.
Thank you so very much for coming to the studio today. I am so excited about this session. And I am sure that creatives in the building have learned one or two things. Find your unique expression. The opportunities are endless. Be willing to learn and serve people as well. I will see you on the next episode of LR Talks. I remain your host, Jade. Bye.